Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Phil Arno.
And I'm Kim Piazza.
And today we're talking about teenagers.
Oh no.
You know about teenagers, don't you?
I do. I have 2 teenagers.
Really?
What about you?
I have 2 as well.
Yours are twins, though.
I have twins.
Double the trouble.
Uh-huh.
Well, I've met your kids. They're good kids.
Yeah, we all think
Handsome young men.
Well, they're good while I'm watching them anyway.
Oh, well, okay.
I can't talk about when I'm not watching.
My kids are good even when I'm not around.
You think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I have them convinced that no matter what they do, I'll find out.
My mom used to have me convinced of that.
Yeah.
She knew whenever I was, not doing something I should be doing.
That's all
She
moms.
always knew.
That's being a mom. That's what it's like to be a mom. Anyway,
okay.
Today we have a very special guest.
An expert.
An expert in everything. An expert in life, but an expert with a new book out called Planet Middle School. And we'd like to welcome Dr. Kevin Leman. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Phil.
It's nice to
Pleasure
have
to
you
have you
here.
I like to talk,
You like to talk?
No,
and
really?
I like the town.
All right,
It's a
then.
perfect
So
fit.
perfect, because Buffalo likes you. So you've got this great book out that I think any parent of a middle school age child, even a little older, even a teenage child, would benefit from a great deal.
Yeah, it broke in the top 10 just a few days after it was released, and I knew right away it would be a really good seller, which it's been. So sort of fun. These kids are weird. They're wonderful. They're horrific, depending upon the day. Talk to a middle school teacher who has cafeteria duty. These kids can throw food with the best of them. Young women are catty, nasty, texters. You women use so many words in a given day as opposed to us men that these years are scary for a lot of parents. And by the way, you mentioned teenagers. The teenage years start at age 11. And that's part of the problem today because kids are growing up way, 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 way too fast. But it's like you've opened the door and all of a sudden this alien comes in, and that's where the Planet Middle School starts. What do you do with this little alien?
Well, what's going on that now the teenage years, you're telling me kids are growing up too soon? What's going on? Why 11 years old are we looking at these children like they're teenagers?
Well, physically they're growing up quicker. It's a perfect storm. It's the hormone group. They're getting weird. Simple things like, Mom, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? Chicken, honey. Oh, chicken! I hate chicken. That is so gross and slimy. You know I hate chicken. 3 nights earlier, the same kid had 3 helpings of chicken. So my suggestion is, when a kid freaks out like that, just say, oh, wait a minute, Timothy, honey, what would you like special this week?
I don't know.
What would I like special? Grilled hamburgers. Let me write that down. Grilled hamburgers for Timothy. Anything else? I like those baked beans you make that's got bacon in it. Well, let me write that down. Okay, I got it. We'll do it this week. In other words, don't go looking for trouble. I'll tell you, this is sort of funny. The similarities between Phil Arno, Kevin Leman, and middle schoolers is really interesting. Number one, the Phils and the Kevins of the world, we don't like questions.
Oh, that
Okay.
explains it, Phil.
We don't like questions, and we hate the why word. Kids at this age hate questions, hate the why word, and what do we do when kids go home from school? We grill them. How was your day today in school, honey? Fine. Teenager, where you been? Out. What'd you do? Nothing. Save your breath, parents. Okay? So these kids will systematically, by texting, like a woodpecker that's got a bad case of ADHD, they'll systematically shut you out of your life. So you have to go to the relationship. So rules without relationship lead to rebellion. So when the kid starts growing away from the family, and that's part of the natural growing up process, pubescence followed by adolescence, a lot of parents freak out, start bolting down the hatches, start taking things away, and they call that discipline, and it's not. All it does is put kerosene on the fire.
Well, I want to put this in perspective. Generationally, for the grandparents out there and the parents out there, what's the difference between what they went through in their generation and what the kids are going through today other than technology? Has anything else changed, or are they all going through the same thing that their grandparents went through growing up at that age and their parents went through?
They're just exposed to so many different things. So when you take technology out of it, it becomes a tougher question to answer because so much of it is the new Goliath. I call the cell phone the new Goliath because we put it in the kids' hands. I'm telling you, parents are putting this in the hands of a kid that's second grade, third grade.
The world expands.
It's crazy. And they're seeing things and doing things because of that no kid should be into. But relationships are still relationships, and we've reared 5 kids, and I remember one night I was doing a show and I mentioned that when the kids went out at night, I'd always say to them, hey, don't forget, you're a Leman. And somebody grilled me one day, Phil, and they said, what does that mean? I said, I don't have a clue what it means. It just means, remember, you're a Leman. In other words, there's an expectation that you're going to behave. And so one of the things I talk about in Planet Middle School is, what are your expectations? And do you use vitamin E, which is encouragement? And vitamin E, encouragement, is really important because going through these years for kids is tough. We talk about texting, sexting, 11-year-old girl, a 12-year-old girl. Another girl looks at her boyfriend, the one she's going with, okay? 6th grade, they're going together. That simply means they like each other. But she doesn't like it. She goes on there and puts a few 4-letter words attached to this young girl. And the word spreads. And you've seen the stories about kids who've committed suicide because of the cyberbullying that goes on. So kids live in a different world. Bullying, for example, we used to tell our kids, if somebody bullies you, you stand up to them. Well, here's the problem with that. Today they got guns and knives. So is that really the best advice? If your kid's bullied, you as a parent need to go down to school, talk to the teacher, number 1. Never bypass the teacher. Number 2, the administrator's desk. Pound as loud as you need to get that resolved, because school systems today do not tolerate bullying at all. And it all gets back to relationships. But we got to get in that kid's world. So as a parent, music's blaring. Kim, maybe you can identify with this.
I'm usually the one who's blaring the music, Dr. Leman.
You look down the hallway, okay, and you hear the music, you know, just coming out. And my suggestion to a parent is go down, knock on the door and say, honey, would you turn that up? And the kid looks at you and says, what? Would you turn that up a little bit? And the kid will go over and turn it up and say, louder. And the kid doesn't know what to do. He's like a deer out in Clarence, you know, in the middle of Main Street, doesn't know what to do. And it's amazing what that does. And then a parent simply says, you know, you must really love that group to listen to that loud. Someday, I know you're busy now, but someday I'd love to know about that group and why you like them so much. In other words, as adults, you need to invite these kids into your world, but you need to get behind their eyes and be in their world as well.
Every time my daughter and I are in the car, she hooks up her iPod, and we blast the music. I learned all the words to the music she listens to. We put the windows down, and we're the two crazy chicks on the road. And you know what? She loves it. It works. It works.
During these middle school years, I used to drive our youngest, Lauren, and her girlfriend to school every morning. Mama Bear sleeps forever. And so that's my duty. And different days, we would have different themes when I drove them to school. We got in the neighborhood where the school was. All of a sudden, we played Little Handicapped Driver. And I would shrink down in my seat, slow down to about 10 miles an hour, and I would always wave to the oncoming car. But I always time it so my wave never got up till after the car had gone by. And the kids in the back seat just dying laughing. And one of the things I try to tell parents is this: you need to have fun with these kids. These kids are ready to go 24/7. And if there's not fun in your family, I don't know how you get through these years, because again, they're weird. They do stupid things. And let's call a spade a spade. Your kid wouldn't have underwear on right now, apparently, unless you bought it for him.
Or told them to put it on and change it because it's dirty.
So I call it parental poker. Parents, you have 4 aces. Play those aces. Your kid's really nasty to you, 4-letter words you, and they'll do that in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And the kid has got a ball game that night or that day. I know what I'd do. I'd let him get dressed, let him get ready. Come on, Mom, we got to go. We're going to be late. Go where? Mom, I got a ball game. Honey, the car's not going anywhere, neither are you. And I'd send an email to the coach, and I'd say, you know what? My kid does not have our permission to play in that game today.
Well, sounds like good advice, and I think we're going to have some more good advice. More with Dr. Leman when we come back.
Good stuff.